Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to Dr. Boyce in Nomalanga. I am here with my good friend Nomalanga Mushali Moses from HealthyBlackWoman.com. How are you doing today, Noma?
I'm doing great, boys. How are you?
I'm doing really well, really well. I got this message this morning, and somebody. It's so funny. I have these great little people that are. They're not little people. They're just people, but they're like these little pigeons that come back and tell me stuff when things happen. You know, if someone's talking about me, in fact, for example, I remember when Bill O'Reilly was attacking me on his show, I got a bunch of little emails from people saying, "Hey, you better watch out. Bill O'Reilly was talking about you today." And so that's how I kind of keep my pulse in the media because I don't watch TV and I don't listen to terrestrial radio. But, I heard that Don Lemon at CNN really seems to take issue with. He takes issue with the fact that I take issue with the show Empire, which I thought was really interesting. And so I was like, well, okay, well, first of all, I can say that I mentioned this to my friend and friends on Facebook. I said I listen to serious journalists, and I don't consider Don Lemon to be one of them. Don consistently makes a mockery of his role at CNN. I think he's maybe trying to become sort of like a black Bill O'Reilly, which I don't know if someone has seen him told him to do that, but they're certainly allowing him to do that, which is fine with me. But Roland Martin, I do respect as a journalist. I've had enough fights with Roland on text and Twitter to see him really flesh out his journalistic sensitivities in a really respectful way, even if I disagree. So Roland, yeah. Don, not so much. So it turns out he had an issue with this, with not just what I said about Empire, but I think there's like a kind of a gay undertone there, where I think he takes issue with the fact that I take issue with what I consider to be the consistent emasculation of black men in Hollywood. And Chris Rock made this point very clearly, and I was actually reciting what Chris Rock had said when I made my point, and really sort of confirming and agreeing with him that in Hollywood, if you are a heterosexual male who has some strong degree of masculinity, there aren't going to be as many opportunities for you as there will be if you are a feminine black man or a non-threatening black man or a gay black man. So those are my thoughts, and I stand by them. What do you think, Nomalanga?
Well, I mean, I think a few years ago, Don Lemon's claim to fame was that he came out and said that, I'm gay, everybody, and I want you to know. So I expect him to speak out if anybody says anything about a show, which he'll probably support. I've watched Empire, and from what I see from the show, and what I've heard about the person who created it, or at least the co-creator, Lee Daniels, is that he's a gay man. And some of what he's writing into the show is his own experience. So anything you say about the show, I think, can be misconstrued as you don't want us to say what we have to say. You don't want us to have a voice. You don't want us to be depicted on television, regardless of what you're saying. You're going to get a group of gay people who are saying he doesn't want to see us also have our moment or have our time on TV or be depicted.
Interesting. Well, I think what I have certainly have an issue with is this consistent effort by particular black people who are propped up by white people, propped up by this corporate money from the whether it's from the Fox network run by Rupert Murdoch, one of the biggest racists on the planet, who's backing this show. You always need to be thoughtful about taking candy from your enemy, from a predator. When a predator offers you money or candy, there's probably poison in the candy. So understand that this is coming from a guy who has consistently shown that his respect for black people is zero to none.
Right.
But it's kind of interesting sort of seeing these individuals who are propped up, who are sort of consistently working to campaign with this propaganda, which is what it can be defined to be, that is saying that black people as a collective, you're homophobic, you're backward, you're ignorant, you're stupid, you need to act like us, you need to change. The rest of America has decided to embrace a whole new mindset when it comes to certain family value systems, and we need you guys to come along. And what's interesting to me is I don't have big horses in the game on either side. I'm not I don't go to church, so I'm not a heavy Christian, but I come from a Southern Baptist family, so I respect that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my concern would be, okay, yeah, you guys are, are on your trendy little thing to kind of emasculate everybody and tell everybody that, oh well, you're heterosexual. Why did you ever try being gay? Being gay is probably just as good. I don't know what people are saying, it's fine if people want to do that and they want to try to push that toward other people. But understand, half the world agrees with the black community too. Lots of African countries agree. Lots of Arab countries agree. And what's consistently done here in the U.S. is we want to take everybody who disagrees with us and say they're ignorant, they're not enlightened, they're horrible people. Look at those horrible people. And I think that's a little bit. It's not only hypocritical. It's incredibly arrogant. It's also interesting when you consider the fact that if you look at America's history, the way America has accumulated wealth and power around the world by literally blowing up little children all over the planet, we've got a whole lot of skeletons in our closet. You look at all the black people we've lynched over, not we, America has allowed to be lynched over the years. How in the world are you going to talk about human rights abuses taking place in other countries, or the way they deal with things that reflect their value system when you've got issues like that at home? So I just think at the end of the day, we're not making room for people to agree to disagree. We're sort of trying to imperialize the conversation, and that's something I reject. I just reject that. Noma?
Yeah. What I observe, boys, a lot of times is I think that we seem to be forced to always pick a side. At least that's my experience in American culture. Is you almost always have to pick a side. So, for instance, if you're saying that I take issue with the show Empire, it then turns into only two things. Either you're pro-gay people having their moment on television, or you're against it. That's it. Do you see what I mean? It's not going to be, well, he's taking issue with the feminizing of black men, or he's taking issue with the depiction of black men as gangsters and so forth. No, it's going to be especially coming from someone like Don Lemon, it's going to be one thing or the other. So are you pro-gay people being on television, or aren't you? And I'm not saying you are or aren't. I'm saying that's how it usually plays out. So it doesn't surprise me at all. If you had said something about women, you'd probably get, what's the other lady? Melissa Harris.
Oh, Melissa Harris Perry. Yeah.
You probably get her on your case saying that you hate women. So it's either you're pro women and women empowerment, or you're not. And it's always going to be those polarities. So it doesn't surprise me that he says that. But my opinion, and I think I've expressed this enough, is that I think it's okay to have Empire. But the only problem is if that's the only thing out there, or that's the thing that we're drawing the most from in terms of how we're depicting black people, that's where our problem is. So, and I think it's great. There are gay black men, and Lee Daniels has the right to tell his story and to tell the story of gay men, especially gay black men, because they do live in an environment where they are probably at the bottom of the barrel in terms of love and acceptance for who they are. So I think that story needs to be told. However, I think that if you don't agree with how it's being told, or who's telling it, or whatever, you have the right to say that too.
Yeah, I absolutely think the story should be told. If it's a story that that's not disrespectful to other people. And I think that what Lee Daniels did that really burned me up a little bit is he sort of came out of the gate with this this agenda, this very clear agenda. I want to blow the lid off of homophobia. And remember, he's the guy that also said that he told Larry King, he said, I went to an AIDS clinic, and he said there were so many black women there, I thought I was in the welfare office. This is a sick dude. This is a guy who has a lot of issues with black people, and that's what you kind of see, which is unfortunate because we have some black people in the community who are just blatantly evil toward homosexuals. Sometimes you get these angry people that just I think Don and Lee, one thing they have in common is they're both really pissed off because they're thinking about stuff that people did to them in the South when they were growing up as kids. I know Don grew up in Louisiana, which I can't imagine being a gay kid in Louisiana. That had to have been horrible. I admit that's horrible, and I'm sorry that people did bad things to you. But stop trying to use this power given to you by white people to bully other black people. That's what I don't like. Stop doing that, because without CNN, you would have no power, Don. Without Rupert Murdoch, Lee, you would have no power right now when it comes to spreading your message to the world. So stop. At least be somewhat compassionate, be somewhat respectful. Stop thinking that it's your job to tell everyone what to think. And here's the other thing too, and I think this is very important. There's certainly room for those who are either born gay or decide to be gay for whatever reason throughout their lives. I think that can be respected. But when we get to this point where we're not also respecting the necessity of having strong, masculine, family-oriented black men who love black women in our community, then that's a problem too. I don't want us to get so carried away with this feminine thing that we forget the fact that communities are protected by strong men who love their wives, who protect their children, who procreate. That's how community grows. So if my heterosexual son is going to school and he likes girls, I don't want someone saying, well, you should probably date a boy too, or gender doesn't matter. No, it does matter. If my son is a boy, let him be a damn boy. Because to me, to kind of push these ideas on him or push him in a direction that he's not already going, that's even worse than sending a gay kid to a school that makes him ungay. I don't think any of that's appropriate, and I think that's the issue for me. And I agree with what Chris Rock said, that when you're talking about black men, as you mentioned, the biggest thing that happened in Don Lemon's career is when he came out as gay. Then suddenly his status elevates and everyone loves him. The white liberal establishment eats him up, and he gets all this power to spread his whatever throughout the world. God bless him, but at the end of the day, I think there has to be a role for strong heterosexual black men as well. And I know in his little diatribe on Tom Joyner today, he actually named off some heterosexual men in Hollywood, I guess to basically say that Chris Rock and I were wrong, that we're crazy, that we're making all this up. But no, I'm sorry, dude. That's, excuse me, the fact is that there have been a lot of people who said the exact same thing, and just being able to name off a few people does not mean that the predominant proportion of black men who are successful in Hollywood are strong heterosexual men. I don't think that is. To me, it's very similar, and I'll say this and I'm done. It's this feminization effort. It reminds me a little bit of kind of what we're seeing as well when it comes to black women being encouraged to date white men. If you notice, you'll see all these shows on TV now with black women dating white men, and it's almost as if the rest of the world is saying, "Hey, sister girl, let's give up on these brothers. These brothers, they ain't shit. This white guy, he'll treat you well, he'll give you money, he might have a wife and or whatever, but he's gonna give you this scandalous fantasy that you desire." And I'm not a fan of that either. It doesn't mean that I think interracial relationships are bad or evil or anything like that. Love exists where it's going to exist, and I'm not one to define that. But when you have sort of this politicized, systematic agenda to shape what love is going to look like and what families are going to look like, then I say stop that, because I do believe in strong black families, and I don't give a damn who knows it. I'm done. I'll let you make the last comment.
Yeah, just two things. The first thing is when you were talking about Don Lemon listing a name of things, it's what people tend to do is when you talk about an issue, then they'll name the exception and try to pass that off as, look, here's an example. It's not an example, it's an exception. The second thing that I want to say is it's very generic. There's room for everybody. That's how I feel. There's room for everybody. And I can't reiterate this enough. It's okay to have Don Lemon on TV and he can say whatever he wants. That's okay. Again, let's balance that with another strong male who's maybe heterosexual if Don Lemon is gay. If he's conservative, let's have a liberal. If he's liberal, let's have a conservative. Let's just have a balanced overview of who we are as a people, and let's have people who are telling our stories tell diverse stories. That's all I want. There's room for everybody, but let's make room for everybody.
All right, let's make room for everybody. Okay, so Don, if you're listening, apparently he listens to some of the stuff that we talk about here. If you're listening, Don, we love you, and there should be room for you in the world. But if you keep talking this nonsense, we're going to keep calling you out. So thank you so much, Nomalanga. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And everybody, this is Nomalanga Mushali Moses from HealthyBlackWoman.com. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and thank you so much for checking us out. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.